Coffee Conversations with Greg J is on. Good morning. Thursday. Got my coffee. I made a big old cup in one of my giant paper cups we got around here, Dream Creator Studio. How y'all doing today? Things are good. Moving through. Heard the news not too long ago that Willie Morrow passed away. And I'm from San Diego, born and raised. I've been in Hollywood all my life. Well, sort of, but not really. Oftentimes, if you're close to me, you'll hear me say in my moments of reflection how, I feel so blessed. This kid from San Diego, man, was running around doing sound for, one of the sound singing groups down there. We're going to talk about that a little later. Even back in high school, even my early days in the Marines, I was always the guy with the records. And, music has just been an essential part of my life. And it's a wonderment that a kid from San Diego could grow up and have a sustainable career in broadcasting, been in the room with some of the greatest of the greats. And it's just awesome. And, got a lot of homies up here. We're always talking about rolled tacos and Skyline and Southeast San Diego and all the things that are San Diego. We always get together and reminisce. Brother Dwayne, Professor Dwayne, I hope you're listening. That's my dude right there. He's from Skyline. And we worked together. And it was took a few months of us working together. Our desks were like, 10 feet from one another, and then we just happened to be chopping it up. Found out we're from San Diego, just the thing. But going back to the passing of Willie Morrow, this is essential. This is the brother who developed the Afro Pick. I remember the California curl. I remember seeing him in Ebony magazine because he was going around to the different military bases and teaching them how to cut black hair. He was a source of inspiration. But even more than that, I remember 92 Star 5. I often lament the fact that when we tell the story of Black radio in this country, my peers across the country, it's always coming from a perspective of the East Coast. You're going to hear about Frankie Crocker. You're going to hear about, Butterball Tamburo. Down south, the Mad Hatter. I mean, just going on and on and on. And, I always would love to tell the story of the Black radio west of the Mississippi. I was blessed to work more than 2 decades at one of the preeminent Black radio stations in the country, certainly in the LA area at KJLH. But in San Diego, when I was a kid, we used to have to listen to the stations from coming across the border. Wolfman Jack was on some of those stations. I remember XCRB. I remember XPRS. And then Willie Morrow came along and he bought 92 Star 5. It's still on the air down there, but it's owned by the big old conglomerate. But back in the day, we were so happy, that we had Black radio station in San Diego. So today I just want to, reflect on the legacy of Mr. Morrow, what he means to San Diego, these memories that I'm sharing with you now. Also, too, just want to reflect on, Black arts and culture emanating from my hometown, San Diego. You don't really think about it much. You don't think about it much. It doesn't it doesn't resonate with us as much. Maybe sometimes. Did you know Nick Cannon was from San Diego? I just found that out. What? Anyway, so I reached out, my good friend. Look, this brother was here when Greg J was, I was just learning, I reached out, brother Floyd, man. Good morning, Floyd.
Good morning, Brother Greg. How are you, man?
Man, I'm doing all right. Thank you for coming in and sipping coffee with us today.
Well, we do coffee, so we may as well have a conversation.
That's what's up. You gotta listen to that rich voice right there. This is one of the baddest bass baritones this side of Melvin Franklin. That's what I know. This is a brother right here got it cracking. I saw social media here, you guys. Floyd Smith is singing in front of 8,000 people. It's just really awesome. Really, really awesome. Tell us a little bit about yourself there, Floyd, and then just get into that experience that you had there.
Greg, man, I don't even know where to begin. I've always wanted to be a businessman. Even in my yearbook, I wrote I was going to be an entrepreneur and successful and owning nightclubs and restaurants, and that happened. But my first love was always music, and the group Satisfaction. We got a story to tell about that. But even before Satisfaction, I started singing in church when I was 15 years old, and I actually sang bass below the men in the choir when I first got there. Then, of course, later on, there's Lincoln High School where we sang in the ensemble, and that opportunity allowed me to learn how to harmonize. And then we started a singing group at 16 years old, and the very first nightclub I sang at was the Sportsman on Sportsman over there, the Sportsman and the Safety. And I was only 16 years old, so I had to stand outside and wait to time to go on stage and then go back outside after I got through performing. But my grandmother was in there with my mother. So I remember being in the nightclub scene at such an early age. I thought I wanted to be in this business. So fast forward, after I got out of the work in the marshal's office, I started a club called Bogey's Nightclub. That was way back in the 80s. That was the first upscale African-American nightclub in San Diego, line out the door. San Diego's a very conservative town. We're only like 5 or 6% of the population. So I created a niche market for African Americans well over 40 years ago for entertainment. So I pretty much have dominated that market for over 40 years, even until this day. Then you knew about the group Satisfaction. That's where you and I met. That's where you and I met. You were actually the sound man.
Yes, I was.
Oh my gosh. That's where you met. Was it Al Ramirez? God rest his soul, and
Yes.
Clarence McDonald.
Yes.
And they took you under their wing, and that's when you went up to LA and you started doing all those wonderful things in LA. But, Greg, I've been in the music business so long, it's part of my fiber. Leonard Tucker and I started in the group Satisfaction. We were the #1 group in Southern California, and he got a gig working over at with the Fifth Dimension about 15 years ago. And when Lamont McLemore left the Fifth Dimension, I got an opportunity to audition, and I got the part. And I've been traveling with them for over 13 years now as their bass baritone. And another wonderful thing happened. I came out of my shell as a background singer and started singing lead. And to my amazement, word of mouth only, because I'm not good at social media, I've been booked ever since as a solo singer. I joined the Lions Club. I met the president over the last 3 years. Ended up on the biggest stage in the world, actually, for the Lions. It's their international convention, and I was chosen to perform for that convention. So that was like a dream come true. 8,000 people, and I'm the headliner to close out the International Lions Convention. So I don't know where you want to go with this, Greg, but I'm just enjoying life as a singer. I'm an entrepreneur. I have my nonprofit called Music Therapy for Veterans, and we help our veterans who are suffering with PTSD by using the power of music. So I don't know where you want to jump in, but I just, I'm just honored to be here hanging out with my buddy Greg this morning. That's all I can really say.
Yeah. I wanted to just let you know and let the people know that, watching you in those early days, and then I'll link you up with Lee Bailey and Diane Blackman Bailey when I got my first full-time job
Uh-huh.
in the industry up here in Los Angeles. Bob Dockery. I mean, you guys are very much influences for me as a business person. And so I ended up, Floyd, I wanted to be an engineer, and I know my way around the studio now. I know my way around the studio, but I am firmly on the business side, and that's how I've carved my niche as a marketing executive, marketing and sales executive in the industry, working and intersecting with major corporations who want to use radio as you know, an advertising vehicle. I've been a manager. I've done 2 record deals out there, you know, over my time, and I mean, you know, hey, that's all you, Floyd.
Well, you might get to do the third from your mentor, third record deal. So, man, you know what, Greg? It's an honor to serve, man, and that's why I'm a Lion. As a Lion, we serve. We help people. We do fundraisers. We do cleft palate surgeries for the kids. We do eyeglasses for them. Whenever there's a catastrophic event, we raise money for that event. We're one of few agencies that can go anywhere in the world, over 300 countries. We can go more places than the United States of America can because we just give, and everyone's connected to us from South Korea, from Korea to China to Africa. I mean, there's over 300 countries that's connected to the Lions, over 1.4 million members, all globally. It's
You
amazing
know,
out there.
Floyd,
It's an amazing organization.
that's phenomenal. And I know another brother, Ilya Daly. I think Ilya, you might be out if you're listening. I know you on the Lions because you were running around there in Inglewood at the Lions place, and that's all good. Good, good, good. You know, Floyd, I want to take an opportunity. We're a member of the Black Media, California Black Media Network, and we got the headlines from them that you know, Willie Morrow had passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and it's one of those. I mean, since the pandemic, if you're like everybody else, Floyd, you probably lost quite a few folks. You know, it is been an interesting time as people have been checking up out of there. Even the 2 mentors that you mentioned earlier, Clarence and Al Ramirez,
Mm-hmm.
passed on over the last year or so. Um, but when I read about Willie, it was like, wow, you know, and I began to just think about his big, giant warehouse space over there on Market Street and
Wow.
just reflecting on San Diego. And at this stage in my career, I really am looking at my road from San Diego to what I've been able to do and see and watch. And I just want you to share with the people, like, reflect for a moment with us. What did Willie Morrow mean to Black San Diego?
Wow. That's a good question, Greg. Actually, it's amazing because Willie was Black San Diego to the extent that he was our first Black millionaire mentor from Southeast San Diego. Like I stated before, we're only 5 to 6% of the population, but Willie was 100% of that entrepreneurial spirit for all young African American males like myself. He started out in his humble beginnings with a small barbershop. I mean, just a small little barbershop over there on Market Street where he began to develop his ideas and products with the Afro comb, the California curl, long before Jerry curl. They spun all that stuff off of Willie Morrow right here in San Diego. Willie represented to us somebody that we could see ourselves becoming. I always wanted to become an entrepreneur, and him and I we've had hours of conversation talking about business, talking about how to maneuver through dealing with our folks in the community, because you know that's a challenge at times. When you see one person become successful as an African American male, there are just a lot of things that we put on each other that shouldn't happen. But Willie maneuvered it so well. He was my mentor, and Willie. He had the radio station. He had his California curl. He had the military having him go around to all the bases all over the world to train him how to cut African American men's hair. He had his products in all of those facilities for the Navy bases. Willie was one of those guys that was just a down-to-earth guy that would sit down and talk with you for hours. And I know he had busy schedules, but Willie was just a down-to-earth person that didn't take himself too serious financially. I'm not serious as far as his success.
Mm-hmm.
Willie was a person that would pour into you and take a minute to talk with you heart to heart. And a lot of my dealings after talking with Willie and working with Willie, I realized I can do those things because Willie did it. I mean, there was no business school for young African American males, but there was Willie Morrow's, and he had the radio station, he had the California curl. He's a millionaire, so I decided I wanted to become one, and I actually ended up doing it at 34 years of age, thanks to Willie Morrow's teachings and people like him, Les Brown. But Willie Morrow, man, gosh, I was asked by his daughter a couple of days ago to sing at his service when it comes up. So I'm looking forward to that. But Willie was an icon in San Diego, man. You can't even mention San Diego, Black San Diego, and not mention Willie Morrow, to be honest with you. You
You know,
can.
it's interesting, Floyd. Come through San Diego. There's not much down there for me anymore these days, but I do come down and, visit my parents' resting place and all that.
Hmm.
I got to drive to my favorite roll taco spot every time, got to do that. And
Look, I don't understand. I understand. I
yes,
understand. Which one is it? You got to give a
uh,
plug.
used to be called Azteca, the green one on the corner of Euclid and
Euclid,
Imperial. That's
that
my
thing been there
spot.
since I was in high school. Long before I was in high school, that was the number one little taco spot. You could sneak out of school and go down there and grab your taco and get back before the break.
It's so funny about San Diego and roll tacos. The brother Dwayne, who I mentioned earlier, we used to talk about roll tacos. And there was a Latina that worked in our office, and she was like, "Roll tacos," So she made us some and brought them to the office, right? And we were like, "Okay, these are good," but San Diego still got that little thing to it. And one time I was doing an art showing, and the crowd was really really diverse. A lot of white folks, a lot of Asians, Latinos coming through,
Uh-huh.
and I met these Filipino people, and I was talking to them and everything. And the little guy and his girl were like, comes out, "Oh, I'm from San Diego." I was like, "Oh, great, I'm from San Diego." We're having that conversation. So I go, "Well, let me just ask you one question. Roll tacos?" And they just went, "Yes." That's our thing in San Diego, the roll tacos. That's it. Willie Morrow and XHRM. I mean, when I look at my radio influences, I remember we would listen to the Magnificent Montague on KGFJ when we could get them, certain parts of town in San Diego. You could tune them and you can get them. And then I remember, when
Jammin'
XHR,
Gene Harris, Coyote.
Jammin' Gene Harris,
Who
Coyote,
else? The Thin Man.
Coyote.
What's his name?
I should have. Thank you. I forgot about Coyote.
Coyote.
Yes.
Who was the other guy? Bubba the Lover.
Bubba the Lover, yes. Yeah, yeah.
Oh man.
Let's see who
Dwayne
else.
Brown, who's a news announcer now.
Hmm,
Hi,
hmm.
hi, this is Dwayne Brown.
Yes, yes, yes. It's very interesting. The guys had to go across the border to do their broadcasts.
Right.
People
Well,
don't
that's
know
what
that.
the transmitter was over there. Actually, it
Mhm.
was broadcast out of Mexico because they were able to have unlimited space that we were not able to have in the United States. It was too regulated, and they
Mhm.
had one of the highest mountain peaks. So when they hear the X in front of that name, it's over there in Mexico. That's how Wolfman Jack was able to reach from almost most of Southern California because he
Yeah,
wasn't broadcast out of the United States.
yeah, yeah. They're saying that signal hit all the way Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, and even parts of Louisiana.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. The
Yeah.
power of that station and just the station 92.92 Star 5 was one of the stations that we used to market our events at the clubs and all the black products in the community. And it was where you could find out what was going on in the black community. In those days, we actually had a black community,
Mhm.
where everybody lived in Southeast San Diego. Right now, it's so diversified. There's really no black community anymore. So that's why you have a hard time finding us. They've migrated out to Temecula, Chula Vista. I mean, they're everywhere now. There's just no black. There is no black San Diego black neighborhood predominant anymore.
So, like gentrification of sorts.
Completely, 100%.
Hmm, hmm. It's interesting you mentioned that because after my mom passed, and I actually moved into their home, to close things out. 50 years of
Uh-huh.
marriage is a lot, right?
Right.
And I was commuting back and forth to LA every day, and
Wow.
I got to tell you, it drove me nuts. I couldn't find the black community. It was driving me nuts when I was there. I couldn't find them, And then
Well,
the lady across the street, um, I remember her just saying to me, "Baby, we 5% or less, bro. You can't,
yeah.
this ain't LA."
Well, you know what happened. I mean, if no one's giving you the story straight, here it is. Those homes were bought by a lot of the parents, 50, 15, 10,000 way back in the 60s or 50s, whatever. And they were only 18,000 new and all that. But here in San Diego, those houses shot up when this thing happened to like five and 600,000. Okay, that was then. So if you only, the house was paid for, most of those houses. So somebody said, wait a minute, I can take $500,000, go to maybe Las Vegas, for example, buy a house for 250,000 cash, pay it off, put 250 in my bank account. Okay, that happened quick for a lot of Southeast people, and they left. But now those same houses in the hood are worth $700,000 and $800,000.
Wow.
And so you can't even afford to buy that house in that neighborhood anymore. So those folks who could afford to buy those houses, it's some other folks, it's diversification, it's everybody but us because we can't afford I mean, we can, but there's not a lot of people who can hit that $800,000 mark in the neighborhood because the other houses are 1.45 million up in the neighborhood of San Diego, as an average.
Floyd, with such deep roots in San Diego, and you look across, the diaspora, a lot of folks coming out of San Diego that have made it like mega success, like I mentioned before. I just found out Nick Cannon was from San Diego. I didn't know that.
I'm gonna make you laugh. Nick Cannon had to before him and I met, he had to wait outside my club to perform. And then when I realized, you know what, young man, I had to call the ABC Liquor Alcohol Beverage Control, the state office, and ask them, well, wait a minute, if there's a minor performing on stage, what is the law? And they said, oh, he can't be in the club if he's not on stage. So if he's on stage, he's okay. So he would come back into my office, and I would sit and mentor Nick Cannon when he was only 16 years of age in my office, 16, barely 17. He was still in high school before Nickelodeon. So he would ask me questions about what's it like to be an entrepreneur, Floyd? And I said, Nick, always sign your own checks. Even Oprah signs her own checks. Never give that to your management. So anyway, we had a lot of conversations about business, and Nick Cannon blew up from there. He did Nickelodeon and never looked back. But he was a great little comedian. Did his Martin Luther King "I Have a Dream" speech, which was hilarious. Yeah, Nick Cannon's right here in San Diego. And who else was here? Gary Owens started off at my nightclub Backstage Live also. He was in the Navy. The comedian Gary Owens, the white guy,
Yeah.
Gary Owens started at my club because he would come when he got off work from the Navy and come down to my club and perform.
Wow.
So Gary Owens got his start from Backstage Comedy Night. Nick Cannon got his start from Backstage Comedy Night. Now, everybody's got amnesia nowadays. And of course, they'll never say, San Diego gave us our first break because you lived here.
Right.
And there was no other place you could be because you weren't in La Jolla. I had the only club that had African Americans. So let's go back to the beginning. Floyd
Wow.
Smith in San Diego gave us our first platform on a regular basis. I mean, all the top comedians came through because in those days they weren't making that kind of money. Cedric was through there, Simone, who was that? DC Curry, Bernie Mac, all of them came through the neighborhood in those days because, they had nowhere else they could be. Yeah. But Nick Cannon
Wow.
started at Backstage Live, point blank on 63rd and Imperial.
Wow.
Get it straight.
You know, let's talk about Nathan East, right?
Okay. Wow. You want to go there? Nathan East was in a group called Power. Oh
Power.
my God. That was the most amazing band on the planet. They were so good that Barry White heard them and tried to kidnap them out of high school. I kid you not. He was trying to get Power to go on tour with them when they were in high school, and they would back up Satisfaction, our singing group, when we had the audition with Freddie DeMann from the Jacksons management. And he loved us from that performance. Wow. That was 77, 78. Nathan
Wow.
East. He came out of Crawford High School where you went to
Crawford High
school.
School, yes. Yeah,
And then
yeah.
UCSD.
He
Yeah.
was ahead of me, and then his younger brother Marcel was behind me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so funny. I got a chance to finally interview him backstage at the Playboy Jazz Festival,
Wow.
and I came up to him, and it was him, it was Bob James, Harvey Mason. What's the name of their group? Foreplay.
Foreplay.
And I waited for him last, and I said, I'm purposely holding you for last. And I just looked at him. I said, I just want to say one word to you. And I said, the band Power. That man almost broke down in tears. He was like,
Yeah.
what? I was like, yeah, man. I was Ocean View Park and all that. I know.
you, you had to know your history to say that to him.
Yes,
You
yes.
knew it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Ocean View
yeah,
Park on Sundays, man, that was a spot where all African Americans could come on Sunday and just congregate and never had any problems. In those days, we all just got gathered and enjoyed music. Satisfaction was there. New Joy, all the popular little bands were there every Sunday. They took a different band and gave them exposure. But Power was the best band in San Diego, hands down. To this date, Satisfaction was the best vocal group. So that was our history. We didn't have a whole bunch of us here, but those of us here, we knew each other, and we all, worked together and enjoyed each other's company together. San Diego.
Yeah, if you guys hear
Power,
that noise,
wow.
they're power washing outside the studio there. Sorry about that. Gotta keep our sidewalks clean.
Right,
But
right. No worries.
Floyd, it's interesting because when I think about um, the singing group tradition, I mean, Satisfaction, there's songs that you all did that still stick in my mind. The way that Satisfaction did it, I think that when you all did, as an example, This Ring by Shalimar,
Hmm.
um, I feel like the Satisfaction performance of that just has always stuck in my mind. I can never find anybody else that's even come close, to that in all my years in this industry.
Well, that
Satisfaction, chisel.
Satisfaction was, I started Satisfaction in 1976. And I used the same model that the Temptations used: tall brothers that could all sing and be able to dance, and they had to have a presence on stage, have a look about them. So I started with Hassan, who was the highest falsetto in San Diego. We wanted Leonard Tucker, who was the one that was singing This Ring. That's your buddy from
Yeah,
Crawford High School, Leonard
right.
Tucker. And he is the same one that sings lead with the Fifth Dimension now. He is the same one that got me the audition with the Fifth Dimension. So Leonard was always a phenomenal tenor, always underrated, but Leonard is one of the baddest tenors on the planet. Trust me. Now,
The boy is
This
bad.
Ring, he killed it. He used to kill. He used to kill. He used to kill This Ring.
He's Johnny Mathis, Sam Cooke, and all them wrapped up in one.
Oh my God, I can't even. I mean, we can't even get into the stories about. I'll give you one. We were at the club downtown, and Leonard was killing This Ring, and then he went up to this girl and started singing to her, and she just about fell out because the crowd was already going crazy. We were back in the dressing room getting dressed to leave, and this girl comes through the door and go, "Where's that guy?" "Oh, here he is." She said, "Well, what did you mean?" He was singing to her. He said, "I was just singing a song. Were you singing it to me?" He said, "No, I was just singing it to everybody." Because Leonard was so shy. She said, "Well, don't you ever sing it like that unless you mean it to me." And we fell on the floor. We still laugh about that, Greg. Don't you ever sing that song unless you mean it. So I said, Leonard, make sure you mean it when you sing. It was the funniest thing, Greg. But those days were so, man, oh, to be young again, huh?
Yeah. You know, it's what's interesting now. We don't see a lot of young, singing groups of that style anymore. It's like that music has kind of become extinct, almost that style of soulful expression extinct. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, a lot of that had to have happened in church, first of all, to get your presence of harmony. The second place it would have happened is in school to get some technical training on your harmonies and so forth. And they would always pick the best singers to kind of compete. The singing groups in those days used to compete against each other. I guess when like it's like rappers today, they're like who's got the best, who could spit the best rhymes and rhythms, whatever. Now in those days, who had the best harmonies, who had the best lead voice, who had the best whatever. We were competitive, doo-wopping against each other, so we were able to be forged in a competitive, positive nature. And then the lyrical content. I mean, people wrote chords, beats, but the beats went with the chords. It was a whole song, great melodies, great lyrical content, adoring of women, being kind to women, and lyrical content. There's a lot of thought went into music in those days. Now they just hit a couple beats and say a couple rhymes, and everything is so technical from computer. It doesn't have the same feeling if someone's singing it emotionally, because music is from one heart to another heart. What comes from the heart goes to the heart, but the electronic stuff doesn't have the same feeling as the music that we were blessed to come through. And they didn't have to put in their 10,000 hours just working on a simple note to make the harmony ring. It was fascinating to hear harmony in the 300 buildings when Satisfaction was over there, or we were the Hall Walking Five then, in the bathrooms, because it had the best echoes. So harmony was the thing, and so nobody's really developing these young kids anymore because school has taken a lot of music out of their programs. And so these kids don't have an opportunity to learn on a more technical skill. But these kids are ingenious. They have figured out a way to entertain themselves with their beats and their raps. And, my hat's off to them. It's not the music we grew up on, but I respect the fact that they have a right to create just like we did, you know, and music is music. You got to get in where you fit in, as they say, right?
You know,
So
it's
yeah, Greg.
it's so interesting you're mentioning this because we just had a conversation earlier this week with Billy Mitchell, renowned jazz pianist, and
Hmm.
he has a foundation that's dedicated to music education in the schools. He's got the Watts Willowbrook Conservancy where he's teaching the young people about classical music. They got a big orchestra of kids from Watts, and it's really, really phenomenal. And we were talking about how they've taken you said the technical aspects of harmony. Those things count, right? It's like instead of watching, in addition, I should say, to watching YouTube and all of that, young people do need to get these technical aspects of making music. It's very, very essential to their art.
Yeah, but when they don't have to, and they create an environment where, I don't want to call it junk, but there's a lot of music out there that, where's it going? I don't understand it. And I mean, just because I don't understand it doesn't mean that they don't like it. But I can tell you from a music aspect, just hitting electronic sounds is not the same of creating melodies. It's not the same of, you can't take an orchestra to that and go make this flow on what line number six, and it's in B flat or B sharp, or you can't. It's got to feel good with the harmonies. It's got to feel good with the chords against the harmonies. And all of that stuff is scientifically and numbers. So when the kids just start doing their thing and kids just like it, and there's no, I don't know, it's kind of hard to say. It's hard for me to understand that type. It doesn't mean that it's not good for the kids, but for a singer that does harmonies, I guess we are different end of the polar system like the kids are when they hear our stuff, I guess. But truthfully, it's best that they get on the piano and they learn chords and they learn their notes and they learn just harmonies. It's one of the most beautiful tones in the world is harmonies, even without a band. That's what we call it a cappella, without the company of music. Take Six, for example. When you listen to Take Six, man, you're just in awe of the harmony notes that they use, and they can use different voices, like the bass note on the bottom, the tenor note in the middle, and the first tenor, the soprano. Those are like essential instruments. So they're holding the same space as an instrument would if it was like a saxophone, a bass guitar, or a drum, or whatever. That's what harmonies are. It's such a beautiful art, And I would love to see these kids get more involved in harmonies and getting more involved in great lyrical content that talks positive stuff instead of shooting someone or killing someone. I would love to see them take that same rap message and talk about helping one another, loving one another, and being kind to one another, because music is powerful. Music is extremely powerful. So they need to use that position of power in a more of a positive light to, help our people out. That's just the way I feel about it.
Yeah, that's a powerful statement, and it's real, right? When we talk about how music has evolved into its current form, coming from the black community, it's like we missed almost a sensitivity to humanity. The music that's out front. Let me say it like that. The music that's
Right.
put out front is full of murder and mayhem, as opposed to humanity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me ask you, Floyd. Man, the fifth dimension. What? How
This
did it
is the
happen? What's
dawning
that
of the
like?
age
Real
of
question is, what's
Aquarius.
that like?
Man, Greg, look, being with the Fifth Dimension is like a dream come true. I mean, six-time Grammy Award winners. I mean, we get the love all over the world, and they have a very diverse crowd. So the Fifth Dimension, man, I've done Canada with them. I've done the Philippines with them. I mean, I've traveled all over the world with the Fifth Dimension. It has actually been one of the things that I love most about music is I get a chance to touch people's lives with the power of music, with positive message, with a group of we're like family members. You know, we have our issues every now and then, like all families, but we hang together like we're like glue. We have a great time traveling the world, performing together, and just enjoying the experience of music. You know, we're doing God's work, man. We're just enjoying music and traveling all over the world. And we've all grown with the opportunity to have sung with the Fifth Dimension. That's probably what you've seen. Even when we talk about where you saw me at the convention, look, the Fifth Dimension forged you in fire. If you can't do those harmonies, then they let you know. Nope, go back and get it right. If you're in the wrong place, nope, you belong over there. So they gave you your lesson on stage in real time, and after a while, you got to get better at it. But being with the Fifth Dimension has been a dream come true. The musical director, wow, I mean, he's the same guy that does the music for America's Got Talent.
Wow.
Yeah, and I mean, the legacy of the Fifth Dimension, man, I don't know where to begin, but I can just tell you that it's an amazing legacy to be a part of.
You know, it's interesting. Did you see their performance, like from the '70s, on the?
Summer of Soul,
Yes.
I did.
Okay. What were your thoughts?
Dude, when I'm just looking at that, it's like you're a part of history. It's a legacy. You're a part of world royalness, and you're on that stage keeping that legacy alive. And it's an honor to be a part of the Fifth Dimension legacy and keeping it classy, and still keeping those same harmonies. I mean, it's just amazing to be a part of the Fifth Dimension, man. I don't even, we can go on and on about the Fifth Dimension, Greg, but it's just the best thing that's ever happened to me musically.
You know, it's interesting being around these, iconic music stars. I mean, I spent most of my career with Stevie Wonder,
Right.
and sometimes I'm like, dude, I'm setting up a show for Stevie Wonder.
Like Stevie Wonder, the real Stevie. I know, man. He says, I'm
Yeah,
in awe whenever I see him at the NAM just walk by. I'm like, wow, that's Stevie Wonder, you
yeah,
know.
yeah. And that's what I mean when I said at the top of the show. Sometimes I'm like, man, this kid from San Diego, I'm standing there with. Are you serious?
Yeah.
you know, this is really, really, really
And
something.
and and Nathan was just a humble guy. Some of these guys are just so humble. And that's where you say, you know what? Don't take yourself too serious. Just enjoy life and be human,
That's
and
right.
just have
That's right.
fun with life. You ain't gonna make it out alive, so you may as well be nice to everybody.
Amen, brother.
So
That's
be
real
kind.
talk. Let
When
me
in
ask
doubt,
you.
be kind. Go ahead.
Yeah. Now, who do you go to like, somebody from back in the day, their memory pops up. Who do you look to try to find people in San Diego? Or is everybody still, I mean, because I know you're the man about town, you've been there, you've been that
Forever.
ever since. So
Been here
maybe
since
you
I
don't
was
need
4 years
anybody,
old.
but who's that person that'll know who and where people are?
Facebook.
Mhm, mhm.
Facebook, because everybody's so diverse. Everybody's so all over the city now. Nobody's in one spot, and there is no central hub. Actually, you're right. I pretty much know where most people are in San Diego because over 5,000 are on my Facebook. So when I
Right.
reach out to them for my events, I can pretty much find anybody from high school. If you're still in San Diego, we've run across one another. I'm pretty much the historian after, man, 40 something years plus in the business. I'm pretty much a historian, Greg. So I don't know. There's nobody. Willie could have been one of those people. The voice and viewpoint, they don't really, I mean, you can read about things going on in the community, but you can't get any information about where anybody is. There really isn't anybody. The city is so diversified now, they're everywhere.
You know, going back to going back to satisfaction for a hot minute there. I wanted to ask you, um, Hassan Alamin went from satisfaction to being the lead of the Lion King, the original Lion King.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
Hassan Ella. Yeah.
I ran into him when the Lion King was the first iteration of the Lion King was all the rage, right?
Uh,
And he totally remembered me. It was so funny, I was just like, damn, man, like from San Diego to, Broadway, award-winning musical.
hmm
Awesome stuff. Do you still talk
Also,
to him?
yeah, I spoke to him a couple of days ago. He actually had dinner with me a month ago when I was in Delaware working with a Grammy producer, Herb Middleton. So I was in Delaware, and Hassan was preparing for a play there in Delaware. Just fate would have it, we were both in Delaware at the same time, and we had dinner that Sunday. And then I saw him this past Sunday at the Memorial Park for Juneteenth Day, and he was performing with his new group. Um, uh, they were sounding pretty good. You know, they have their own gospel group, uh, and they sounded great this past Sunday. So it was great. It was great to see him again and connect. Now, we always talk about the fact that three of the members out of Satisfaction made it into the national spotlight as performers. So we know Satisfaction could have made it.
I mean, it's amazing, right? When you think about it, it's like Leonard Tucker, it's Floyd Smith, Son. I mean, it's my goodness,
There's three out of five, and the other
superstars.
two could go. Trust me, but
Yeah,
you know. Uh,
they still around.
the other guys, Theodis is a minister now, and Herb's retired. He just kind of chills and does music. But for the most part, we're all still in touch with one another. We're brothers for life. Satisfaction. We're real brothers. Love each other. Uh, always stay in touch with one another, and you know, uh, we communicate monthly on the phone, reaching out, just checking up on each other. Yeah, but Leonard and I traveled together. That's my travel. That's my road dog, right? Leonard and I traveled together all over the world, leaving out of San Diego to meet the Fifth Dimension wherever they are. They leave out of Los Angeles, and Leonard and I leave out of San Diego, and then we've been doing that for 13 years now, and we just meet them wherever they are in the world from San
I'm
Diego.
trying to do the Fifth Dimension and the Long Beach Symphony. This is my dream, and I'm hot on the case.
Well, I'm hot on it for San Diego Symphony, so maybe you and I need to talk about that because I can actually make that happen. Uh, Talking with the person that's connected with us, that we can make that happen because actually that's part of my nonprofit to do symphonies with the Fifth Dimension. Conceptually, we've talked about it, the director and I. So they actually did a show for me at the Monte del Oro. It was a fundraiser for my nonprofit, musictherapyforveterans.org. They did the show for us there, and I actually got them. We actually did a gig in the Grand Del Mar 3 weeks ago for Hats and Hills fundraiser, and they came through my nonprofit to get the Fifth Dimension. So we can definitely hook that Long Beach symphony opportunity up if you really want to do it. I can make it happen for you.
Yeah, right, right. Because as symphonies begin to evolve, as audiences begin to evolve, I think that a lot of symphonies, their audiences are super older,
Hmm.
and they're searching for ways to outreach and introduce symphonic performances, with new audiences. And I think that I call them mashups. These mashups, R&B singers with the symphony and
Right,
those
right.
stuff are is the way to go. We just did the Long Beach Symphony did a tribute to Aretha, and
Wow.
I was able to bring them the a gospel choir, the KJLH Radio Free Performance Choir, and it was phenomenal. It was
Wow.
phenomenal. But what was even more phenomenal and crazy is watching all of those old white folks get up and dance to all those Aretha songs. I'm like, I didn't think y'all were listening to her in those days.
Yeah, they were. Trust
Yeah.
me, real music is real music, and it's soul. It goes to the soul, comes from the soul, and music will make you move even if you don't want to, because it consumes your entire brain at one time. Your thoughts, your memories, your emotion. Music is probably one of the most powerful medicines on the planet. It was actually the original medicine when you go back and do your history. Long before any other medicine, there was music, and they called it medicine. And then they put herbs in, and they put a squiggly mark around it. That's when you notice herbs, the Chinese later. But music was the first form of medicine. To this day, music works better with PTSD and TBI, traumatic brain injury, than medication and drugs. And the government knows it, but they're not in the music business. They have a music therapy division in Bethesda, Maryland. And that's why I decided to do it, because I realize how powerful music is and how we're able to help so many veterans here by using the power of music therapy. Yeah,
Let's let's talk about that for a minute. So you're a nonprofit. You use music to as a method of therapy for veterans coming home from battle and suffering from PTSD and all of the things that come with that.
that's
How's the
correct.
success been?
It's been pretty good. I mean, we're still building in the stages that we want to get to next. But at the end of the day, Greg, um, music is one of those things that is so powerful that there are people who are dealing with dementia and Alzheimer's who haven't spoken. There's a thing called Alive Inside. If you find the documentary Alive Inside, there's a particular guy that Mr. Jones will call him, has been sitting looking out the window. He barely recognizes his daughter when she comes to visit him, and he never says a word to any of the staff members. But one of the therapists said, "We want to try something different on your dad. What's his favorite song?" And they said, "Sweet Georgia Brown." So they put the headphones on him. He was looking out the window. He never says a word. Within 10 minutes, he's tapping his feet. And then he starts to sing along, Sweet Georgia Brown, Sweet Georgia Brown. Everybody goes, look at that. He never even says a word. So we got to give him his medication. So they took the headphones off. And he said, hey, what's going on? And they're like, what? He never says a word. He said, well, we got to give you medication. He said, oh, okay, you know best. Here's a guy that haven't spoken 2 years. And music
That's phenomenal. Ab-
fires the cylinders that you thought were dormant in the front, but the back is still fine. He remembers his high school song and who he was with, probably even what color he was wearing. But he
Mhm,
don't remember your name
mhm.
in the front because that's where the damage is with Alzheimer's. So when you look at the power of music therapy, it changes lives. When kids are involved in music, it's scientifically proven that their grades are going to go up because their memory and their thought processes are firing in places they weren't firing before. Music is one thing that consumes the entire brain at one time. And we don't even have a drug that can do what music does. So we should be more into music. I mean, every time you get in your car, you turn on music. You're in the elevator, there's music. You get home to relax, there's music. It's the beats, it's the frequencies, it's the melodies, it's the notes, it's the vibration. It's a lot to music. We could go on and on for hours. We use clinically trained therapists to see the veterans, and then they have group sessions. They have individual sessions that's all tailored to each individual's needs. And we're more of a fundraising arm that raises the money and gives away the therapy sessions. The next thing we're working on is a recording studio, so we can bring the veterans into our studio and record them. And I've reached out to several other producer friends and songwriters. They're all on board to help me produce this mission to help our veterans who are suffering PTSD and create a catalog for them. So they're all on board. I'm just excited to be, involved with music therapy for veterans. So one thing I can give and never stop.
Yeah, it's important work. And I'm reminded uh, here in Long Beach, we have there's a rock band that's based out of the VA hospital out here, and
Mhm.
that's what they do is they bad too. you know, it's a bunch of them. They're all veterans who are suffering from some sort of mental condition based on their service, and
Right.
this band is keeping them, bringing them back to recovery. It's very, very interesting to hear them play. Some of them can sing, most of them can sing pretty good, but some of them maybe not so bad, not so good, but still, they're in the game, and it's good for their mental well-being. This is
Yeah.
great and important work.
And when you're in music therapy, it's not how good you sing, but it's the fact that they're engaging you musically with you, getting your mind off of whatever was on your mind and finding something that you enjoy doing and just singing a song. Because you can't sing a song and think about your problems. So the longer you can take a person's mind off of what was traumatizing them, it shows them that there's something they can do beside a drug that can take their mind off of their uh, traumatic experiences. And the longer they play their music and the better they feel, the endorphins kick in, and they're all natural. And I'm a homeopathic. I love natural products anyway. So music was a natural thing for me. And then to see how well it works and helps people, I thought, you know what? Why not lay my hat here? I got to do something to help people. And music therapy is where I decided to be.
Yeah, this is great work, man. Congratulations on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Look, like they say, thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service. Yeah, my
Yeah.
stepdad had PTSD. He was in World War II, Korean War, and Vietnam. So we
Mhm.
had to deal with the effects of PTSD. And I just thought, if any other kids are going through what I went through, I'm going to try to help the parents as we can with the power of music therapy on my end.
You know, Floyd, you have brothers, right?
Oh yeah, it's well, there's seven of us, five boys and two girls. Two of them passed away, but yeah, we had five brothers in our clan.
Now, if I remember, I was thinking about this as I was really getting excited, about this conversation. Am I right? Wasn't one of your brothers Mr. Black San Diego?
He was Mr. Black San Diego, and he was the Ebony Fashion Fair model.
Wow.
When they needed one, Andre Le Corbusier broke his foot or something, and he wasn't able to go. So Herman Brooks, who was the number one Ebony Fashion Fair model for the duration of the probably about 10 to 12 years at least, him and Donnell modeled together with Shirley J. Mannequins in San Diego.
Wow.
So when they needed somebody right away, they said, well, Donnell Smith in San Diego, let's just get him. And they did. Donnell toured with him for almost 8 months.
Hmm.
Had
I
that double
remember
spin
that.
at the end of the ramp, and the girls just loved it. So, yeah, I remember those days.
Well, all you Smith brothers, I remember all the girls were talking about y'all.
Keep your tennis shoes on. Run, run. Yeah,
Wow.
it's music, man. And
Yeah.
people recognize talent, and they know you're going somewhere with it. So it is what it is, brother Greg.
Yes, sir. Yes,
I'll leave
sir.
that. I'll leave that alone.
Ah, baby.
Oh baby, it's music, Greg. It's
Yeah.
it's artistry, and anything that puts you in the forefront of the public gets everyone's attention. And females are definitely want to make sure they get the right guy in their life that can do what it is they need to do in their life. And musically, they know this guy is probably gonna make a lot of money. Maybe not, but there's a chance that he could. But he has a voice that people just love to hear tones. Whatever your message, whether you're speaking, whether you're singing, when you put yourself in the spotlight, it attracts a lot of attention, some good, some bad.
Mhm.
But you have to always prepare your personality for what's coming your way because it's coming. And you well know that.
Yeah. 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 That's true. That's a true thought right there. As we get ready to get out of here, I want to kind of reflect a little bit now. Um, I mean, yes, you say San Diego's changed quite a bit, and I'm really enjoying having this conversation with you today, and would love to have you back so we can talk a little bit more about your foundation and certainly the music that you're making, the art and culture. What
Mhm.
is the Black arts and culture scene like in this day and time? We're seeing all over the world actually now, you know, an explosion, a caring, an embracing, an uplift of Black arts and culture. You see that in San Diego?
That's an interesting question, Greg. They just initiated Imperial Avenue, 63rd or 61st, as the Black Historic Area for Black San Diego. And they just did that about a month, not even a month ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, where they designated that Imperial Avenue as the Black uh, part of San Diego historically.
Which
They
part?
just did that over there where my nightclub was, 63rd through 64th, 65th. So that corridor over there, they
Oh,
just
that's
made
in
it the Black
Canto.
Encanto over there on
Yeah.
Encanto. So they just recently did that. Cheryl Morrow, who's Willie Morrow's daughter, she still has the Monitor newspaper that they talk about Black events that's going on and Black cultural events that's happening in the city or who's doing what politically. Um, she's got her finger on the pulse with the Black population and what's going on. She can still send out emails and the magazine that she has. So she would know quite a bit more than I. I'm not as much into it. I'm just my schedule won't allow me to hang in as much as I used to and would love to.
Hmm. 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 A lot has changed over there. You go by your alma mater, Lincoln High School. I mean, wow.
Yeah. Hey, Greg, think about all the NFL stars that came out of Lincoln High School. You talking
Man,
Marcus Allen, Terrell Davis?
yeah,
Come on now. You got
man.
more Heisman winners coming out of San Diego than any other um, place in America,
Well,
out
you
of San
know,
Diego,
yeah, Marcus
Pop
Allen, that was
Warner.
our neighbor where we lived right around the corner. He used to play football in my backyard. He was younger than
Wow.
me, but we used to. So I'll tell this story. So in the backyard, we had these hills. It's kind of three levels of the backyard, and the kids would come by. We play football over there. Marcus Allen, his older brother Harold is more closer to my age, right? So
Uh-huh.
Marcus is younger. We used to throw Marcus down those little hills, try to make him cry. We bad little kids. Do you know that little booger would never cry? And then to
I'm
see
not.
him grow up and be this Hall of Fame football
Yeah.
star is like, you know what, my dude.
Satisfaction did a show at Lincoln High School, and it was crazy. We needed security to get back off. You didn't know it, but Marcus came back there and said, "Hey, man, if you ever need another singer, I would love to join your group." I said, because we're singing this church choir, right? I
Yeah.
said, "Boy, shut up. You're going to be an NFL star." Marcus
Yeah.
used to be the quarterback at Lincoln. Can you imagine him being the quarterback and when he couldn't find someone to throw the ball to?
Wow.
This guy would run those people nuts in high school. I
Mhm.
used to watch Marcus during the high school games. It looked like a man among boys out
Yeah.
there. It was
Yeah.
insane to watch, Greg. That was Lincoln High School days, man. A lot of
Wow.
great years at Lincoln High School. The only black high school. In those days, we only had 800. The student body of the whole school was 800. But Patrick
Wow.
Henry had 3,000, and they had 1,000 in the sophomore, freshman. Each one
Mhm.
was 1,000. We had 800 in the whole school, and we still won CIF
That's
in
right.
two or three sports. It was crazy, man.
Yeah. 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 Oh, Marcus Allen. I saw him on the red carpet years ago, and I hadn't seen him.
Uh-huh.
His football career. Seen him on TV and everything. And when I was covering on the red carpet, and when I hollered out at him to try to get him to come over so and get an interview, he was like, "Yes." And then halfway over, it clicked in his mind who I was. And I was just amazed. It's like this brother totally remembers me from back in those days. And
Yeah, you're
that's
the one who's pushed me down the hill.
right.
You be glad he didn't want revenge, huh, Greg? No, just kidding.
Yeah. Oh,
Those
funny.
are good old days, man.
Good old days, that's for sure. All right. Hey, Floyd, give us the website to your charity, and so we can put that in there in the
Okay.
chat.
Okay. It's musictherapyforveterans.org. So musictherapyforveterans.org.
All right, I'll put that in the chat for everybody, so you guys can reach out to Floyd, see how you can help that. Okay, musictherapyforveterans.org.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, man, this is a great one, and we just pay honor to Willie Morrow. This is San Diego history we're talking about. Black history. We'll get a chance to talk about our history down in San Diego, about the LA. But we're right there on the border. We got some history too.
Well, we got a lot of classy history that came out of San Diego that made it big in LA, and they just acted like they were from LA, but they from San Diego.
Let's say .org. Yeah, proud to be from there,
Mhm.
and proud of my time. I'm so thankful. I'm gonna say publicly, just so thankful. Floyd Smith, Leonard Tucker. Shout out to him. Um, Boy, we go back like 8 tracks.
And then they did have 8 tracks in those days.
Right,
That's not a cliche, Greg.
right,
They had
right, right.
albums. I remember you had your albums with you, dude. When
Yep,
we would do the gigs and play the DJ and two, you had your albums actually under your arms with you at
yep,
some of the gigs to play and doing sound and DJing. That's how far back we go. They actually had albums for still DJing the grooves, the
yeah,
parties and stuff.
yeah. That's so funny. I caught up on Facebook with a brother who became my best friend when I was in the Marine Corps. He was from New York City by way of Panama. He was Panamanian brother, big
Uh-huh.
old buff dude. And it just so happened that wherever I was stationed, he would get orders to the same place all our time together. So, we lost contact. And then the magic of Facebook, boom, he's there. And he sent me some pictures of us. We young, 18, 19 years old. And I have a radio. And I'm like, I've been in this game since the beginning. I got
Wow.
it honest.
Wow. Hey, Greg, you know what, man? Thank you so much for all that you've done, man, to keep us in the spotlight with the KJLH and now with your own, Coffee with Greg J. You've always been an inspiration and a good friend to me. And I just want to publicly say thank you for your friendship and all that you've done for our folks here in San Diego, starting with the Satisfaction era. We're proud of you down here in San Diego, my brother. We really are proud of you, man.
Thank you so much, Floyd Smith. So, were for you, I wouldn't be here. That's what I do know.
Well,
Yes, yes.
that's a funny statement because it's true. Because when that whole Satisfaction thing happened, I had to go back and forth to get Clarence McDonald to come down here, and then he brought Al Ramirez. But it was through me network in LA, back and forth, that I got these incredible producers to bring their incredible sound people, and you met Al Ramirez, and that's how your journey started.
Medal Ramirez. I worked for Clarence setting up his studio sessions, and what an education that was. I was running
Yeah.
around taking his compositions and making charts and setting up the studio sessions. I met the famed funk drummer James Gadson, who had a
James. Yep.
studio in his backyard, and I
Yep.
just said, "Come over, just knock on the front door, and let me know you're back there." But you got it, and I went back there and would play around with the studio equipment and make beats and
Yeah.
try to take when we had the big tapes in those days,
Yep.
take those things and make them. I mean, Al Ramirez, so many national radio shows that you know Floyd, me and Al worked for a national radio network called Westwood One. They're still around.
Hmm.
Big, ginormous network, right? And they gave me my own transponder on their satellite. So at the time, I had my own satellite transponder. That was me and Al. We
Wow.
were throwing programs up there and everything. We did a
Wow.
nationally syndicated rap battle that was sponsored by Sprite called the Rhyme for Rhyme MC Battle. And we found this old rocker with a mobile recording studio. We rented the recording studio, backed it up to the Hollywood Palladium, put the show on a 30-minute delay so we could catch any cussing and everything, threw it up to the satellite. Nobody had ever done anything like that in our industry before, especially with rap music. And I had
Uh,
27 radio stations on the satellite, and that was something me and Al did, and I could go on and on. We got a lot. Though that union that you created
mhm.
spawned so many historic moments in Black radio history, and I'm just
Wow.
really, really proud of that.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate you, man. I really do. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Greg. I've enjoyed myself immensely, and I look forward to us having real coffee in person real soon.
Let's get it. Yes, yes, yes. Y'all can get this on Coffee Conversations with Greg J. That's our Facebook page. You can get it on Beach City Radio, beachcityradio.com. Please support that. Join our mailing list. There's lots of community news, lots of global news. We're about culturally relevant conversations from a global perspective. We also will repurpose this audio and put that out as a podcast a little later on today or maybe early part of tomorrow morning. It'll be out there wherever you get your favorite podcast. Floyd Smith, he's there for his music therapy for veterans. That's in the chat right there. And look out for him. Fifth Dimension, Floyd Smith. What's the name of the club over there at the Four Points?
Oh, the Skies Lounge, but it's called the 4 Points by Sheraton. We're located. It's actually the Skies Lounge. Yeah. So it's a 4 Points by Sheraton, 8110 Arrow Drive. I'll be there actually this coming Saturday. If you LA folks want to come down and get your party on, I'll be right there.
I'm
Although, hey,
coming
how do you
through.
say it?
I'm coming through. I'm coming
Hey,
through.
Greg, you listen to Coffee with Greg J.
That's so funny. If you all have been listening to some of our latest episodes, and you'll see we open and you'll hear this deep voice saying, good morning. That's Floyd.
Good
That's
morning, Coffee Conversations with Greg J. Hey now.
man. Thank you, Floyd. God bless you, man. Peace and blessings.
God bless you. Thank you, man. Love you, man. Peace.